Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're on the air and live. Our sponsor tonight is John Jones. John Jones Real Estate. Going to stay over in Knoxville. Going to roll down just a little bit south of Knoxville to Cleveland, Tennessee, and going to talk to the head coach of the Cleveland Blue Raiders. He was in a tough one last Friday night. They are currently 5-2. That's the Cleveland Blue Raiders, but the head coach is Chandler Tygard joining the show. How you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm good, Stork. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Well, lost to Bearden 38-21. Great game for you. The report was from a friend of mine was you got some really, really big dudes, but at times when you really, really need that money guy, you don't have a money guy to, just run through those holes that those big guys are making. But scary big is what I hear out of the report about your team.
Yeah, I mean we got some big kids, but honestly, not. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Bearden. Like their right guard is 6'8", 360 pounds. So they're a big team, and they've got a stable of Power 5 offered running backs. But it was a good game. We were in the game. We gave up 14 points on special teams though, so that was the difference. We took the lead. We were up 15-7, pretty much dominating the first quarter, and then they immediately end up housing. They got a hold of a squib kick to their Division I running back, and he ran a 98-yard touchdown. But even then, it's a 15-14 game. Right before half, they have a 67-yard punt. They pin us inside the 5, and when we're doing backed-up punt, we end up getting the punt blocked for the first time since I've been coaching high school ball. So they end up going up right before the half, and that was a big one. Not to mention we had to deal with a bunch of adversity. We had some kids out. It was raining in the first half, and overall we ended up having more yards, more first downs. We did some good things, but anytime you spot a top 5 team in the state, 14 points, that's going to be tough, especially at their place.
Yeah, and they got, like you said, they got some dudes too, and did you feel like you got into the flow of the game? Your kids were ready and fought hard. I mean, looking back on it afterwards, we should have done this or we should have done that. Now that you had a chance to look at the video, was there chances in operation?
Yeah, we would have done some things differently. I mean, we felt good about the first half. Overcoming the rain. Bearden doesn't throw the ball hardly at all. You basically need to prepare for them like you would a wing T team. Their foot-to-foot splits were 300-pound linemen across the board, and so looking back on it, we would have done some different things defensively, especially with who got matched up with their giant guards and centers that are all over 320 pounds. So we would have changed some stuff there probably if we would have known we wouldn't have had success. That's the first team that's really been able to run the ball on us this year. We definitely have to make some adjustments off of that week, and because we're coming into Maryville this week, and they're a heavy run team too. So when Bearden and Maryville played each other, they only attempted to combine 4 passes. So Maryville's going to try to hold the ball and slow down our tempo and run the ball. They run gap schemes more than zone schemes, where Bearden was pretty much exclusively a zone team, and they're going to hand it to a really good running back, and he's going to choose C-gap to C-gap where he wants to go, and he can kind of ball out. So they did a good job, and they're well coached, and that was probably the best defensive game plan and special teams game plan we faced this year.
So if you catch them again in the playoffs, you'll go into it differently.
Yeah, I mean you got to make it first. Our region's pretty tough this year, to where you got us, Maryville, Farragut, Bearden, Bradley Central is number 1 in the state. All these teams are fighting for 4 spots. And then even Hardin Valley, started out the season 3-0, and they run the wing tee and do some good stuff. So you've got 6 teams fighting for 4 spots, and really we're planning on seeing each other again once we get in the playoffs. But we still got to make it, and if we can handle business Friday, if we can handle business Friday, we still have a chance of winning the region. If you get into 3-way tiebreakers and all that kind of craziness, so we just need to take it one game at a time, and we got the 17-time state champions coming to town again, and Cleveland beat Maryville last year, and that kind of set off a streak that's Maryville's now has lost some games the last 2 years, but at the same time, they're still the same storied program, and they still expect to win a lot of games.
You like this game where you are and where it is on the schedule? I mean, if you had a chance to move it around, would you have rather had it at week 2, or you like where it is?
No, honestly, Stork, I absolutely hate our schedule. So, we started out with only 2 home games in the first 6 games. And from a gate perspective, that's not great. And then we're playing Maryville on our fall break. It's our fall break right now. For our bye week, we were in school, and then you play a bye week when you're in school, and you kind of get out of your rhythm, and then you got to go to Bearden. So this whole season's kind of been a little crazy from a scheduling standpoint, and we have to travel so far, and then our gate situation, just because we play so many teams from Knoxville, and we don't play anybody hardly from the Chattanooga area other than Red Bank. So when I get to make a schedule, it'll definitely be a lot different, I hope, than what this one was.
When you think about Maryville, you said they like to run the ball a lot. What do you like about their team, Coach?
So they're different from Bearden especially. So instead, Bearden runs the same type 3-zone schemes from a few different formations. They're just really, really good at it. Maryville this year, they're running 100 different run schemes from 100 different formations. Honestly, I told Coach Creasy this week they have turned into Oakland, into where they are running power, counter, buck sweep, pin and pull, trap, tackle traps, pulling it. They pull every single lineman. They pull tight ends, and then they're doing it with 15 different formations a game. And they literally have copied what Coach Creasy has done, and they're doing the exact same thing over here in East Tennessee. So it's pretty interesting, because they didn't used to be that way. They were known for having some quarterbacks and throwing it around.
Read option.
And now they're very much.
Yeah, they were read option.
Yeah, now they're just it's straight shotgun wing T almost. I mean, they run zone, they run outside zone, they run every single gap scheme that Oakland runs. They run the quarterback a ton, so it's kind of similar to what Kate Hewitt was doing. They've got 2 different power backs. Nobody is they don't have an Eric Taylor back there. Like, nobody's just going to, house it from 90, but they've got 5 different running backs that can carry the ball, and they've got all these kids that are big and tough and strong and believe in winning and in the Maryville way. And so they're a true program, so it's going to be a tough challenge for sure.
You like where you are, Coach? I mean, you're in a situation where like you said, you got a couple of, got a few games here. You got to hit before you can get into the second half of the season. But do you like where you are, or you feel like? You feel like
compared to where we were preseason, we were picked 5th in our region. We were picked to probably only win 3, 4, 5 games. So we're definitely doing better than anticipated, I guess. We don't have any major Division I players or Power 5 guys that have been offered yet. We've got a couple sophomores we think that could possibly get there. But we're doing better than expectations. But I mean, how we operate and where the standard is, and we're trying to get back to first we're trying to make the playoffs. We haven't done that in a couple of years. We haven't won a playoff game in 9 years, and we haven't won 8 or more games in a decade. So we're trying to do some things here that hasn't been done in a while, and ultimately the goal is to see you Murfreesboro guys again, hopefully in the semifinals, and then get to Chattanooga. So we've got a ways to go, but playoff-wise, we still kind of hold the cards. I guess we would need a little help if we win the next 2 to win the region from Bradley, but we're worst case. I mean, we're planning on making the playoffs and winning the playoff game and just seeing what happens in that playoff run.
Well, and I was talking to Coach Creasy today. The biggest thing we were discussing, he can control just about everything except the injuries. I mean, you can coach and have in the refs. I mean, that's about the only 2 things in the weather. But the weather's relevant. As he always says, if it's raining on my side of the field, it'll be raining on their side. So we'll both deal with it. I mean, as he crosses things off, he looks at, is it an advantage or is it we're both going to have to, fiddle with it. It can be weather can be an advantage for some, depending on if you like to throw the ball or same with cold weather and stuff. But we're a 70% run team here, so it's not as big of a deal as it would have been at Blackman. The officials, I do think you can kind of control a little bit by just trying to make relationships. And it's funny when we go to some officials association, it's a totally different way that it's called compared to other officials associations. So you keep that in mind and where you're playing and where the game's located. And then injuries, you definitely can't. And at Cleveland, we started the day I got hired with 45 total players.
And so we're really a 5A school that's playing 6A football. And if we have any injuries whatsoever, it's decimating to our team. So we've overcome a few, each week. But we've been lucky that there's, probably 3 or 4 spots on that field that if one kid goes, we only have one quarterback really on the roster right now. And so if one of them already tore his ACL and, if he goes down, we're in a world of hurt. So, you just got to make it work and you prepare for that worst case scenario. But, you hope you never have to get there.
Well, everything else going okay? Besides that,
yeah, other than that, it's great. We get Bearden and Maryville and Bradley back to back, and it's a tough part in the season. The good news is we're at home for the next 3 weeks. Even though we're on fall break, we're doing our military appreciation night on Friday, like we did at Blackman. So we've got the camo hoodies, we got a cannon coming, and we're firing that sucker off, and we're doing some recognitions. We're bringing back the 1993 state championship team. So they were the ones that started the 54-game streak where they won 3 state titles in a row. We're recognizing all those guys. They haven't been back in a long time, and so we set up a nice tailgate right in front of the main press box, right there in the main parking lot. And to have all those guys back, we put the Raiders on the helmet from the '93 team for this year, for the 30th year anniversary, and have a sticker on the back for them. And so just to kind of get to know those guys, and man, just what Cleveland was back in the early '90s. It's a totally different animal now. They played the equivalent of 5A back then. But, they only had 26 kids on the roster, but they had the baddest dudes around to win 54 straight games. And to get to know some of these guys has been pretty neat.
Well, and like you said, you build some tradition, and it gives those guys some memories. And the sport was played a lot different than it is today, but it is what it is. Coach, we can't thank you enough for being on Inside the Headset. We are off next week. I'm headed to Georgia Wireless, but we will be we'll be at one of your favorites Friday night as we'll go over to Riverdale for the backyard brawl. And that's one of those places. I was telling Coach Kreisky yesterday. I was like, I just love Riverdale. You get in, but you can't get out. It's the toughest place.
Yeah, we ran into that last year a little bit. They tried to keep us in there a little longer than expected. So the reservation is a wild place. So especially if you go in there and win. So I'm going to be curious to see what the score is. I'm really interested in that one. I think Riverdale's doing a great job this year, though, so that's going to be a tough one for sure.
Yeah, and it's kind of shaping up like we were talking about. Kevin and I were earlier today. It's tough for Siegel to lose their quarterback. Because he was the engine that made the train go. And
yeah, that's brutal. I wish you had 6 years or 5 years of eligibility for high school kids in that situation, but I'm hoping he gets to keep playing because, man, what that kid was doing this year was unreal.
Yeah, and, he broke his collarbone, so ain't no way he can play. So, he's out with a collarbone injury. So, not coming back because you can't get hit.
Yeah.
It'll kill you. So, anyway, but that's just, like you said, everybody's saying it, injuries are part of the game. It's the risk you take, and one of the reasons why, and sometimes you can't control it, but one of the reasons why you got to go faster than everybody else, because if you hit them harder, then it hurts you as bad. So, there is some engineering and science to it. So, but anyway, Coach, thanks for...
Yeah, and you got to take all that into account. And, we honestly, looking at the Bearden game, we probably would have gone slower if we would have known that, we played a lot more kids both ways, and we got beat up by the fourth quarter. When they were just so deep. They rotated 7 different defensive linemen in the game. So all that's into account, man. So you just got to stay safe and, make do, but, plan for worst case scenarios too, in case anybody goes down. But I appreciate you guys, and Anthony, y'all are always reaching out. So tell Judy and everybody hello. And thanks for always having me on.
Coach, we appreciate you for being on Inside the Headset, and good luck Friday night against the Maryville Red Rebels, and as they come into Cleveland. And we'll talk to you on the last week as we head into high school football for the state of Tennessee.
Awesome. Thanks, Dork. Go Raiders.
All righty. Thank you.